down to.
Okay, so. Stick those things. And then do maybe about 3.5 more minutes.
Okay, 200.
Yeah, let's start with that one. Do you wanna-
We're doing that or no?
Yeah. All right, so here's a little 200 before we get on the road here with all that other fast stuff.
Is that on?
Yeah.
Okay, 200. When you got home, did you call the police?
Yes, sir.
How long after you got home was it before you called the police?
I don't recall exactly. It was a few minutes again. I tried to recoup a little bit.
Did you do anything between the time that you walked in the door and the time you called the police?
I think I sat down and rested too. I cannot give you a time span there.
Did you have anything to drink during that period of time?
No, sir.
What police department did you call?
Fullerton Police Department.
And do you recall how you got the number?
Yes, we have it on our telephone emergency number.
Do you live with someone else?
Pardon?
Do you live with someone else?
I have a wife, sir.
Was she home at that time?
She was in bed.
Did you wake her up before you called the police?
No, I didn't personally, no.
Did a police officer come out there?
Yes, sir.
Was it Officer Sands? Something like that?
Something of that nature. I don't recall the specific name.
And he asked you to give him a report as to what happened to you, correct?
Correct.
Did he ask you to give a description of the person who did this thing to you?
Yes, he did.
Did he tell you it was important that you be as precise and detailed as possible in giving the description? Did the police officer tell you to be as precise and detailed as possible when you gave your description?
I don't recall him saying that specifically. No, sir.
Was it your state of mind at that time that you ought to be as precise and detailed as possible?
Certainly.
You told him that the guy who did this to you was either a male Mexican or an Italian, didn't you?
Yes.
Did you tell the police officer that the guy who robbed you was a male Caucasian?
He asked me what the person who robbed me looked like, and I wanted to give him as much information as I could.
Did you tell him that the guy who robbed you was a male Caucasian, yes or no?
I said he was black, a light black, and he says, well, or Italian or Mexican, and I said it's possible. I can't tell a person's nationality, sir.
So you told him that he was a light black?
In the conversation, but I am not sure which sequence.
Well, did he ask you what race the person was?
I don't recall the word race used, no.
Well, what did he ask you along those lines, if anything?
What the person looked like, keep in mind I'm still pretty shocked.
We will try to do that. Is it your testimony that the officer was the one who used the terms Mexican or light-skinned Italian?
Posing a question, could it have been? Yes, sir.
So he is the one that brought that up, correct?
In the conversation, it came out that way. In other words, it could possibly be others.
So he brought that up, right?
Yes.
But this was after you told him light-skinned black, right?
I don't recall the sequence, in all honesty.
Well, did he bring up Mexican or Italian before you said anything about the person's race or ethnic origin?
Did he?
Yes.
I don't recall the sequence that the question came up.
Did you tell him that the guy was about 34 years old? Did you tell him that the guy was 5'6"?
I did mention the height of 5'6". I also recall saying that he could be a little taller.
All right. Let's do some 210.
Yeah.
All right, just a little 210 now. When you got home, had something unusual occurred?
Yes.
Without telling us what you concluded, will you please tell us what you observed when you got home?
I drove into the driveway. I noticed there was a chip from a brick that was broken off, and there was pieces of the brick scattered in the driveway. I entered through the garage door, side door, where I always go through. Went into the house, noticed the side door going into the pet run was open. Fiberglass grating that we keep the dog in the laundry room was off to the side. I went into the kitchen area, put my pocketbook down, turned, looked off to my right, and I noticed my mother's tea set was missing.
Had the tea set been there before you left?
Yes.
Was there other items missing?
Yes, there were.
Did you ever see that tea set again?
Not since then, no.
Starting with September 29, this last time you saw the tea set, had you ever seen any other items that were missing from the house on that day at another location?
Yes.
When was that?
At the sheriff's substation.
Right here on this plot of land?
Yes.
Showing you some photographs that have been marked prior to your arrival here, showing you 11A for identification. Do you recognize anything depicted in that photograph?
Yes, the pearls.
The answer is yes. That was a yes or no. Would you please, using words to describe it so the lady can take it down, tell us what you recognize in 11A as being something that you saw at the sheriff's station that was missing from your home?
The black pearls, the accordion, and the Sony radio.
You have indicated a Sony radio on the left-hand side of the picture?
Yes.
All right, 225. All right, 225. The accordion speaks for itself. The black pearls, would you tell us where it was located on the photograph?
On the right-hand side of the photograph.
Were they items that were in the house before the 29th of September?
Yes.
Were they missing after the 29th?
Yes.
Did you see them at the sheriff's station?
Yes, I did.
Showing you 11B as in Baker for identification. Do you see anything in that photograph that you recognize from your home?
Yes.
What is it?
My sterling silver flatware.
Was it in the home before September 29?
Yes, it
Was
was.
it missing after you arrived home on September 29?
Yes, it was.
Did you see it at the sheriff's station?
Yes, I did.
Showing you 11C as in Charlie for identification. As you examine that photograph, do you recognize anything contained in the photograph as depicting an item from your home?
Yes, I do.
Would you please tell us what it is in the photograph?
The small purse, leather purse in the middle of the photograph. I believe this is my passport cover.
Well, was your passport cover missing from your home on the 29th after you got home?
Yes, it was.
Did you see it at the sheriff's substation here?
Yes, I did.
Anything else?
I don't believe so.
Directing your attention to the gentleman who is seated at the end of the table in the gold jumper. Do you know that gentleman?
No, I don't.
Did you give him any permission to be in your home on the 29th of August?
No, sir.
The items that you have identified as being from your home that you saw at the sheriff's station, did you ever give him permission to have or control those items?
No.
To possess them?
No.
All right, let's do a little 240. Ready? Are you the owner of all these items that you have described in the photographs?
No, I'm not.
You are not.
I am a partial owner, but some of the things that are in the photographs belong to other members of the family.
Perhaps you could just, how about that?
That's mine.
That's yours?
Yes, it is.
How about the accordion?
That's my brother's and my father's, I
And
guess.
the pearls?
My mother's.
And the Sony radio?
My mother's.
And the bag?
My mother's.
And the passport cover?
That's also my mother's.
When was the last time you saw the passport cover prior to September 29?
It was, gosh, maybe 2 years.
Okay, how about the accordion?
Probably about the same length. It was in the hall
But
closet.
the last time you recall specifically seeing it was about 2 years ago?
Probably,
How
yes.
about the pearls?
I saw them about 2 weeks prior.
And the radio?
I haven't seen that in years.
More than 2 years?
Right, uh-huh.
And the flatware?
That I saw probably about a month before the 29th.
Okay, where were those various objects that you have identified in the photographs kept?
Okay, the flatware was kept in my room in my hope chest. Now the pearls were kept in my mother's room in her closet, and the accordion was kept in a hall closet. The Sony, I think, was kept in the garage. It's my father's, and I haven't seen it in years.
You live with your folks?
Yes, I do.
All right. Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I have one sister.
Does she live at home?
No, not now.
Did you contact the police on September 29?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall who you spoke to?
The dispatcher.
Did you give the dispatcher a list of these various articles that you have identified today through the photographs?
Not the dispatcher, no, I didn't.
You did to somebody else?
Yes, I
Do
did.
you recall who that was?
Sergeant Spreen.
When did you do this?
Oh gosh, it might have been the 30th of September.
Did you give him an estimate of the value of the things that you believed at that time were missing?
Yes, we did.
Did you have conversations with both of your parents and your sister to determine what was and what was not missing?
Yes.
Did this take place prior to the date that you talked to Sergeant Spreen?
Both.
Okay.
We talked about it when Sergeant Spreen was there, before Spreen came there, and probably about 2 weeks on too.
Did you have any conversations regarding whether or not anybody in the family had loaned certain of these items to other people or had taken them and put them into another place?
No.
To this date, have you ever had a conversation in trying to account for certain of these items based on the fact that maybe someone put one item someplace or had loaned it to somebody?
Yes, we have.
All right. Let's go back to 225. Let's do a 5-minute. I see coffee, KOIF. So, and intoxicated, alcohol. 225. Okay. Let's do 5 minutes. You couldn't tell Mr. Farmington was intoxicated, is that right?
No, sir, he was drinking. I couldn't tell you. I'm not an authority. I couldn't tell you whether he was completely drunk, but he was drinking quite a
You
bit.
say he forced you into the vehicle
That's right.
in the area where you were located. Were there any people present?
No.
How did he manipulate you into the vehicle?
I remember he said I was only shooting pool and I wasn't drinking, and I said to him, well, if you wanted to shoot pool, there's a pool room down the road with no alcohol. Subsequently, he said, get in and we'll talk about it. I certainly didn't want to talk about it, but he sort of pushed me in the vehicle. He didn't actually hurt me at that time.
Was the door of the vehicle opened or closed when he shoved you into the vehicle?
I only remember the door being opened because I think he got out of the same door.
The conversation was going on simultaneously with the door being opened?
Correct?
Explain to us just how he shoved you in. Did he give you an enormous push or a little push or what?
I don't remember. I believe he pushed me into the vehicle. He didn't take me and throw me into the car at that time.
I understand. In other words, as a result of his touching you or
No, he actually pushed me into the
his
vehicle.
hands pushed you into the vehicle?
Yes.
What particular part of his hands touched your body?
I have no idea.
Not any idea?
He has 5 fingers on each hand. I don't remember which fingers.
Only one hand?
No, definitely both.
You don't remember whether it was a slight shove or a heavy shove?
It was only a shove.
And you went into the vehicle?
That's correct.
And you remained in the vehicle, correct?
That's correct. He said he wanted some black coffee.
In other words, you stayed in the vehicle and he went around to the driver's seat, right?
I possibly could have. I don't remember. That's right.
And subsequently, as he went around to the driver's seat, you were alone on the passenger's side, is that correct?
That's right.
You could have exited the vehicle,
Not even a chance, Mr. Mullins. He's a tremendously powerful boy.
but he wasn't in the vicinity, was he?
He was within 5 feet at that particular time.
And that's why you stayed in the car?
That's correct.
And you went with him to a restaurant?
That's right.
And you had something to eat?
I just had a cup of coffee.
And he ate something at the restaurant?
That's correct, sir.
You were together approximately how long?
We were together talking in the restaurant. Actually, before we went into the restaurant, I told him I would get back into the vehicle only if he allowed me to drive.
He said he would not allow that, correct?
He said he would let me drive. I made that stipulation.
Why did you want to drive the vehicle?
Because I've been in the car many times with my husband when he drinks.
In other words, you thought he was intoxicated?
No, I thought he couldn't handle the car properly.
But you didn't say anything about his intoxication in the beginning when you first actually went in the vehicle, did you? Or about wanting to drive?
I couldn't.
You couldn't the first time, but you decided you could the second time?
You're trying to confuse me.
I want to get what actually happened. That's all I'm trying to do.
When I got in the vehicle the previous time he was driving, he asked me to go to dinner. I answered I would if after we arrived we would allow me to drive.
Subsequently, the second time after you got out of the dinner, you wanted to drive the vehicle?
Yes.
And he said you could drive the vehicle?
Before he entered the restaurant, correct.
When you left the restaurant, he wouldn't allow you to drive, correct?
He said absolutely not.
Did you want to leave him then?
I started to walk.
You were walking over toward the Eastgate Motel?
I was currently in front of it.
About when you were at the Eastgate Motel, did his vehicle go into the lot of the motel?
That's correct, just in the
Were
driveway.
there any people present?
No.
Did you have a conversation?
I imagine there were people inside. I don't know. There was nobody walking.
What time was this now?
I guess about 3/4 of an hour after he picked me up.
Did you have a conversation with him?
Correct. I told him distinctly that I didn't want to get in the vehicle, but he violently put my body into the car.
Where were you approximately when he picked you up bodily
What do you mean, where was I?
with relation to the Eastgate Motel and the entrance? At what location did this happen?
If you know that location, the entrance is on a slope. The motel sits up above. It was right down in the driveway, one of the driveways. There are quite a few driveways.
In other words, the driveway that leads to that half circle when you enter that particular location, right?
I don't understand what you mean. All I know is at the beginning of the driveway. I know there's a parking area at that location. Am I understanding your question?
I actually mean, how did he pick you up?
He bodily lifted me up and deposited me in the vehicle.
Using both of his hands, he lifted you from the ground?
He violently pushed me right into the vehicle.
In other words, he pushed you approximately like he did the other time, correct?
No, this time there was more violent force
What
involved.
kind of force?
Extremely violent force.
Well, exactly what part of your body did his hand touch?
I don't understand, Mr. Mullins.
You wouldn't be able to tell us that?
I don't know exactly. I don't remember.
But if I were to say it was possibly your foot or your head, you wouldn't know?
It was absolutely not my foot.
Well, what particular part was it then?
I don't know exactly. Possibly my waist, my shoulders. I don't know exactly. I don't remember.
Now, you went into the car, and this is when you started to go toward Maple Avenue?
Yes, he was riding back into
On
town.
Maple Avenue, was he riding toward Old Patterson Road or away from Old Patterson Road?
Toward it.
Let's do some more 240. How we doing?
After 3 days off, it's
Don't
hard,
have your
huh?
holiday fingers on, do you? All right, we're going up to 240. Here comes educational background, EBD. Okay. Let's do 3 minutes. 240. State your full name for the record.
Sergeant John
Can
Flanagan.
you tell us something about your educational background?
I went to college.
Do you have any degree?
I have an associate degree
In what area?
in business
When
management.
did you graduate?
1970, I had gone to night school.
Do you have any other education?
Yes, I continued at the textile college and I am now 17 credits shy of a bachelor's, but I had to stop in 1992 because of work.
When did you become a Newark police officer?
2001.
When did you begin to train as a Newark police officer?
I began that training in May of 2001.
When did you complete your training?
It was in September
Also of 2001?
Yes.
Where was the training held at?
at the Newark Police Academy, at Temple University in Philadelphia, and at Newark High School.
Do you recall receiving any training materials during the time you were at the police academy?
Certainly, yes.
Did you retain some of those materials?
Some are
Do
outdated.
you recall when the last time was prior to today that you received those training materials?
They are in constant review.
When you say they are in constant review, can you tell me, is that once a week, every day? How often do you review those?
I refer to them at least once a week.
Do you review all of them or only portions of them?
I review portions of them.
For what purpose do you review those portions once a week?
Like I said, some are outdated and others are referred to for guidance for police procedures.
What is your understanding of the definition of probable cause?
My definition is what I see here, which would lead a reasonable person to believe that a crime or situation has arisen and needs further investigation.
What is your understanding of the definition of disorderly conduct?
Pretty much what it states. The statute states that conduct which is out of the realm of normalcy, conduct which inhibits vehicular traffic, In this particular case, conduct which would draw people's attention to them.
Is there any specific intent needed on the part of the defendant in order to make out a case for disorderly conduct?
Would you be a little more specific? Are you asking me if the person is being disorderly?
No, what is your understanding of the City of Newark Police policy on use of force?
Basically, it's using enough force necessary to overcome resistance.
Have you ever heard of something called a force continuum?
Yes.
Can you tell us what you're referring to when you refer to force continuum?
Well, first you use vocal commands, then physical restraint. As the situation arises, as it's referred to, you use physical restraint until you have compliance.
Under what circumstances would police using force be called for? When is force authorized? Under what circumstances?
When there is non-compliance
Non-compliance with what?
by the party involved.
Based upon your training, would a police officer ever be authorized to hit a person in the head or face?
No.
Prior to coming to your deposition today, did you receive any documents?
Yes.
Could you tell us what those documents are?
Yes, I reviewed the incident report and I also reviewed the summary citation.
And those are what are in front of you now?
Correct.
Can you tell us what your duties and assignments were as of March of 2004?
I was a police supervisor. I was operating as a street supervisor that evening. I was working the midnight to 8 shift.
Did you have a partner?
No.
Okay. Little long for 240's sake? All right. Now let's do it for 2 minutes. We'll do one. Comes male or female, Mayful. You have a brief for transvestites? Juvenile, and in your mind, coming up, Juval and Nermed.
How about disorderly conduct?
Does anybody have one for disorderly conduct?
Kevin?
Audra?
No, Jessica.
Jesse? No? All right. All right, so just 2 minutes this time, then we'll shorten it up to 1 for our tests.
Okay.
All right, so right here, here we go. What was your tour of duty or assignment that night? Not your shift, but what area were you responding to?
I'm assigned to the 9th precinct.
Did you have a specific patrol area?
No, the entire 9th precinct.
Where were you going when you encountered Miss Hastings?
On routine patrol.
Tell me what happened when you encountered Miss Hastings.
I was traveling southbound on Kaywood Road, approaching Watson Avenue.
Then what happened?
I observed 2 people walking northbound on the east side of Kaywood Road, just above Watson, and observed a female, obviously in my mind, who was a juvenile.
When you say obviously in your mind, what led you to believe she was a juvenile?
Her size and the look on her face, she appeared very, very young.
Okay, and the other person?
And the other person, whom I did not know if it was a male or female, was walking northbound at approximately 3:15 in the morning and carrying a large pole with a metal tip on the end.
Who was carrying the pole?
Michelle Hastings.
What happened then?
Well, at the hour of 3:15 in the neighborhood of Kaywood Road and Watson, these juveniles' welfare I was concerned with, and I wanted to know why they were out after curfew, so I pulled up to them.
You made reference to the neighborhood. What do you mean?
Well, there's a park there, and in that park, in the surrounding blocks, there's a number of transvestites who prowl the streets.
So what happened?
And there was an incident where one of these gay men I had occasion to arrest in that area for a rape of a 13-year-old juvenile. So my concern was these juveniles walking northbound. I stopped and wanted to talk to them to find out where they were going.
When you say you stopped, can you tell us physically where your car was in relation to Miss Hastings?
Yes, I believe I pulled over southbound and northbound lanes. I just called out to them from the car.
What did you call out to them?
I said, "Where are you going?"
Did you use any profanities?
No.
What happened then?
One female stopped and the other person just kept going, the person with the stick. My suspicions became aroused and I called again and the person did not respond to my calls.
Let me stop you there. I need to get more information. Were you still inside your car at this time?
Yes.
What did you call out the second time?
Come on, stop. Where are you going?
How far away from your vehicle was the person with the stick when you called out the second time?
Maybe a car length, approximately 2 car lengths, approximately 15 to 20 feet at this point.
All right, now let's do one for 1 minute. And we'll see if we like it to speed build on. You're doing what happened, right? WHAPD? All right, here we go. What happened then?
Well, the pedestrian did not respond to my calling, so I pulled the car around up onto the sidewalk to block the path of travel.
What happened then?
I got out of the car, confronted the individual. Now that I saw it was a female, I told her to put the stick down and asked her where she was going.
When you told her to put the stick down, did she do so?
Yes, I asked her where she was going, how old she was, what's her name, and where she was going.
Did she give you that information?
No, she did not.
What did she say?
She said nothing. She had turned around and walked away. I said, "Come on, where are you going?" She said she didn't have to talk talk to me.
Was she walking towards her sister?
Yes, her sister had stayed where I initially stopped.
How far away from her sister were you when you had this discussion with Ms. Hastings?
Like I said, 15, 20 feet, about 2-car lengths.
What happened then?
She said she didn't have time to talk to me, and by looking at her, I judged her to be a juvenile as well, and I said, you have to talk to me. You can't be on the streets by yourself. I opened the car and put her in the back seat of my car.
All right, let's do that 2 more times. We'll do it 250 and then back to 240 for control. All right, so same that last part. Ready? What happened then?
Well, the pedestrian did not respond to my calling, so I pulled the car around up onto the sidewalk to block the path of travel.
What happened then?
I got out of the car, confronted the individual. Now that I saw it was a female, I told her to put the stick down and asked her where she was going.
When you told her to put the stick down, did she do so?
Yes, I asked her where she was going, how old she was, what's her name, and where she was going.
Did she give you that information?
No, she did not.
What did she say?
She said nothing. She had turned around and walked away. I said, come on, where are you going? She said she didn't have to talk to me.
Was she walking towards her sister?
Yes, her sister had stayed where I initially stopped.
How far away from her sister were you when you had this discussion with Ms. Hastings?
Like I said, 15, 20 feet, about 2-car lengths.
What happened then?
She said she didn't have to talk to me, and by looking at her, I judged her to be a juvenile as well. And I said, you have to talk to me. You can't be on the streets by yourself. I opened the car and put her in the back seat of my car.
What happened then?
Well, the pedestrian did not respond to my calling, so I pulled the car around up onto the sidewalk to block the path of travel.
What happened then?
I got out of the car, confronted the individual. Now that I saw it was a female, I told her to put the stick down and asked her where she was going.
When you told her to put the stick down, did she do so?
Yes, I asked her where she was going, how old she was, what's her name, and where she was going.
Did she give you that information?
No, she did not.
What did she say?
She said nothing. She had turned around and walked away. I said, come on, where are you going? She said she didn't have to talk to me.
Was she walking towards her sister?
Yes, her sister had stayed where I initially stopped.
How far away from her sister were you when you had this discussion with Ms. Hastings?
Like I said, 15, 20 feet, about 2-car lengths.
What happened then?
She said she didn't have to talk to me, and by looking at her, I judged her to be a juvenile as well. And I said, you have to talk to me. You can't be on the streets by yourself. I opened the car and put her in the back seat of my car.
All right, let's do our 240s. Oh. All right, we'll go to a new one. So you'll have street light, STRLT, right? And so these will be 1 minute. Did you notice McKinley Street, MC, cap Kinley, Mr. Shapp, SHAPP. All right, so this is 240 number 1 on 7-5. So these are 1 minute. Ready? Begins with me. Yes, from the street light.
About 4 blocks, 5 blocks.
Okay.
I'm not really sure.
Just so I understand, at the point that the shooting was taking place, had you parked your car? In other words, at the point when this whole thing occurred, where was your car?
I don't have a car.
You haven't even gotten into your car? I'm sorry. Tell me again what the situation was.
It was his car, Lenny's car.
So you were taking the keys.
I was going to drive him.
But you haven't gotten to that point yet?
No.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, now you're standing on the street. How far away were you from the defendant when he shot out the street light?
I was about 5 feet.
Did you see the gun prior to the shooting?
No, I did not.
All right, at what point did you become aware that Mr. Shapp had a gun?
It would be after he said, watch this, and he shot at the street light.
Okay, he said, watch this, and he held his arm up in the sky,
Right.
and he did that twice.
No, 3 times.
Where is the light that you are referring to?
Right on McKinley Street.
At what point did you notice that there was a police officer in the vicinity?
When I walked out of the bar.
Okay, so in other words, if you, I'm going to assume that you were not drunk?
No, I wasn't.
All right, number 2, we'll have Mr. Schapp again, police officer, awareness. All right, 240, number 2. So, from what you could tell, was it your impression that Mr. Schapp at the time didn't know the cop was there?
No.
As far as you know?
No.
So did you ever walk by a police officer or a police car to leave the bar, to leave the place where he shot the gun?
Well, his car was parked across the street.
So did you have to walk by it or no?
Well, he wouldn't have saw it, but I seen it.
You saw it because it was a marked police vehicle?
Yes.
So did anything occur prior to you hearing the defendant say, "Watch this"?
No.
Do you know what I'm saying? Did you have any awareness that the defendant had a gun or anything like that?
No.
So you didn't even see the gun, and the next thing you knew, he said, "Watch this," and he shot out the street light?
Yes.
Now, after that happened, you say that you saw the police officer that was here today come and tell him to drop the gun?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
When he said drop the gun, did the police officer have his firearm out?
Yes.
Okay, did the police officer say anything else?
No, freeze, drop the gun.
Now, other than yourself and Mr. Schapp and the police officer, did you see anybody else on the block at that time?
No.
All right, that just makes sense.
Okay.
All right, and number 3, we have female, Mr. McMaster, MC, MASTER. And you can miss, is it 7 or 9 on a 240?
6.
Oh, neither one? 6? All right. All right, 240, number 3. You didn't see any women around?
No.
You didn't see a young black female standing with the police officer?
Oh, yes, I
You
did.
did. Who was the young black female?
She was just talking to the cop. I don't know.
Was she standing in front of her property or what?
Yes.
Did she disappear when the shooting occurred, or was she there the whole time?
I didn't see her afterwards.
You didn't see her? Okay, now you said that he was asked to drop the gun.
Correct.
Did he do that?
No, he did not do that.
What did he do?
Well, he put it in his pants, and then the cop was saying drop the gun, but he didn't have it in his hands at the time.
Okay, what did the defendant do next?
He went like this and ran,
Looking over his shoulder?
looking over his shoulder and ran.
Now, when he was looking over his shoulder, was he looking over his shoulder in the direction of the officer?
He looked like that and flew.
Do you need to take a break?
Yeah, I could use a drink of water.
Okay, Mr. McMaster, I want you to do me a favor and do everybody a favor. I want you to speak clearly and loudly so we can all hear you, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's do our 225s. Any questions on those? All right. Okay, 225. We have Mrs. Rush, R-U-S-H. Right there. Michael, Delaware Valley Hospital. Ashley Foreman. A-S-H-L-E-Y. Alex, A-L-E-X. And we're going to have
Emergency room, MRN.
curtains. Michael.
Okay.
All right, 225, number 1 on 7-5. And here we go. Are you related to my client, Michael?
I am his mother.
Were you present in the emergency room on August 19, 2004 at the Delaware Valley Hospital?
Yes, I was.
Now, did you go there to see Ashley Foreman?
Yes.
When you arrived at the hospital, did you go immediately to the emergency room?
Yes.
How did you get into the emergency room?
I walked
Can
in.
you describe the door there in the emergency room? Was there anybody around the door?
There were big glass doors in the lobby and another door to the examination
Was
area.
that a wooden
I
door?
don't remember. It was an open doorway.
Did anyone ask you who you were when you got to that door?
No.
Was that door to the emergency room itself?
To the examining room part of it, yes.
Was there a lobby out from that door?
Yes.
You testified that the door was open. How far was it open?
All the way. I don't remember the door. I only remember going in.
Were you with anyone when you went in the emergency room?
Well, my husband drove me there.
Was he present with you when you entered the emergency room?
We went into the lobby area together. He spoke to my other son. I went into the examining room.
What son was that?
That was Alex.
Was he the one who just testified here?
Yes.
Did you see Ashley when you went in the emergency room?
Yes.
Did you go right back to see her when you got there?
Yes.
Did anybody stop you on your way to see her?
No.
Did anyone ask you to leave the emergency room?
No.
Did anyone ask you who you were?
Not until later in the evening.
Who asked you that question later?
The police
The
officer.
police officer? Did you see your son Michael in the emergency room?
Yes.
Did you see him coming into the emergency room?
Yes.
How did he come into the emergency room?
He just walked in.
Was there any open doorway where he walked through?
Not that I noticed.
That glass doorway had been closed?
No, it was not closed.
So he walked into an open door?
He came from the lobby into the examining area.
Was there anyone near or right around the door when he entered that door?
Not that I recall.
Is there a booth outside before you get to that door in the lobby area of the emergency room, or some kind of a station where you go into that door?
I remember something. There was a man there. That's all I can remember.
Was there an area?
Yes, to the right.
Now, did you tell anyone to call the police that night when you saw your son?
Yes.
Who was that?
I don't know what his position was. It was a young man.
Where did you go, if anywhere, to talk to him?
In front of a long counter area that was directly across from the curtain.
Was that in the emergency room?
Yes.
Did you talk to the nurse that night about calling the police?
Not that I remember, unless he was the nurse. I don't know what his position was.
Did you talk to a female that you know?
No, that was a young man.
Were you screaming that request, or were you saying that in a regular speaking tone?
Well, I was really close to him. No, I just asked him.
Did you have any occasion to talk to Michael in the emergency room?
I followed him in as he left, yes.
Was this the first time you talked to him, or had you talked to him before?
I don't remember. I believe it was as he was leaving.
Now, was Michael loud while he was in the emergency room?
No.
Did you hear him threaten anyone while he was in the emergency room?
No.
Were you loud while you were in the emergency room?
Perhaps my speech might have been, but I wasn't really yelling.
Was your voice raised?
No more than it is now.
You're speaking loud enough so the whole jury can hear you?
Yes.
Were you speaking to about that same tone in the emergency room?
I believe so.
And what were you saying to Michael?
What was I saying word for word? I cannot remember.
Was this a friendly conversation?
No.
Can you describe your conversation?
It was really what Michael was saying to me when we were discussing my merits as a parent.
Were you bickering or arguing?
When?
Well, you said you went through the sliding glass door.
I think so.
Did you continue with this conversation at that point? Were you arguing?
Yes.
Were you at the bed while Michael was at the bed?
No, I was in front of this counter thing. I walked out there.
Did you go immediately to the bed where Ashley was after he went toward the bed?
No, I was talking to the young man who I was asking to call the police.
At the time of the incident, had you heard anyone telling you what had to have caused Ashley's injuries? Did Ashley herself tell you?
No, she didn't.
Did Michael tell you?
No.
Why did you call the police? Why did you ask for the police to be called?
I didn't think he should be in there at the time.
Were you aware of the status of the relationship between Ashley and Michael at the time of the incident?
I believe so, yes.
Can you describe that relationship then?
It had been stormy. I think they had broken up, or I was under the impression that they had broken up, and I didn't think he should be there.
Are you close to Ashley?
Yes.
And is she the mother of your grandchild, is that correct?
Yes.
How long did you stay in the emergency room?
I really don't recall.
Did you see Michael at Ashley's bedside?
No, because I am sure I was facing this area where this young man was, and I was, if I remember, towards an open cubicle on the long counter.
Now, can you tell the jury how long Michael was in the emergency room?
I would say about 2 minutes. I am not sure. I am not that good on time.
Did you hear anyone?
I would say more than a minute, I believe. Maybe 2 minutes minutes or 3. I don't think it was more than that.
Were you the one to ask Michael to leave?
No, I was talking to this young man and he just brushed past me and went out. And then I turned and followed him out.
Did anybody hear Michael get asked to leave?
No.
Were you really close with your son Michael? Were you close to him at this time?
Are we close now? Not really.
Have you had a month relationship with him over the years?
Over the years, yes.
All right. Any questions on that one? All right, let's do 225 number 2. And we have proper name Ray Stevenson, Stevenson. New Orleans Police Department, Twin Oaks Apartments, Canal, New Orleans, Louisiana, Detective Swanson, SWANSON, and you have DOA, triple shooting, Evergreen Street, Officer White, landmarks, roped off, protection tape, tenants, the gas light, the quad area, apartments, and balcony. All right, so it's 225, number 2 on 7-5. Ready? Will you please tell us your name, sir?
Ray Stevenson.
How are you employed at this time?
I'm employed as a homicide detective with the City of New Orleans at the present time.
How long have you been with the City of New Orleans Police Department?
Approximately 7 years.
How many years have you been with the Homicide Division?
Almost 1 year.
All right, calling your attention to the morning of March 8, 1980, did you have a reason to go to Twin Oaks Apartments at 8445 Canal in New Orleans, Louisiana?
Yes, sir, I did.
Were you by yourself at that time or accompanied by a partner that evening?
No, sir, I was working with Detective Swanson.
Is that customary for 2 homicide detectives to make a scene together at all times?
Yes, sir, it is.
Will you tell us what type of call you received regarding 8445 Canal Street?
At that time, we received the call as a triple shooting, double DOA.
3 people shot and 2 people dead?
3 people shot and 2 people dead.
Do you recall approximately what time it was when you received the call?
I would say it was approximately 1:30 in the morning.
Can you advise us, if you remember, what day of the week this would have been at 1:30 in the morning?
It was either late Friday night or early Saturday morning, probably early hours of Saturday morning at that time.
Were you with Detective Swanson at the time when you received this dispatch to go to that location?
We were around the 900 block of Evergreen Street.
Approximately, how long